So if we look at the dyno plots here, you will see run 1 is stock, completely 100% stock. Run 2, this green line here, is all the parts, which includes the AFE air filters, the IPD competition plenum with the GT3 throttle body, the agency power 200 cell headers, the Soul Performance catback system, and the Cobb access port with their off-the-shelf Stage 2 map. That's the green line. The red line is kind of our final power numbers. So we applied our own pro tuning, which is custom tuning, and loaded that map. We were able to stretch a little more power, essentially all through the power range, just slightly. A few more power kind of in the mid-range, and then most notably up top, we were able to squeak out, looks like another 6 horsepower kind of up near the peak, and it probably expands to about 8 or so max there, just looking at it. I have to go back through the logs and see. But, you know, for pro tuning, obviously it's a 2.7 liter engine. We're not going to be able to add the type of power from a tune that we would with a turbo vehicle. So we're pretty happy with that. You know, is it worth it? You know, would certainly be a personal decision. We generally charge $429 for our custom tuning. We have done quite a few Caymans. Recently a 3.4 liter Cayman S that was running at Circuit of the Americas. And did a really good job out there. So if you have a Cayman you are interested, feel free to contact us. Again, you'll have to weigh the cost benefit there. Obviously, we picked up more power kind of overall with kind of the system of things. Tuning itself isn't going to be, like I said, as drastic with turbo vehicles. When we look kind of overall here on the dyno, let's just show it here with the baseline run here in red, and then blue is the final number. And sorry to kind of inverse the color scheme here. We picked up at the peak end 17.1 wheel horsepower. So if you apply that to the flywheel, it's about a 7.4% gain of total power. And that's going to represent about 295 flywheel horsepower, which is pretty good considering it's a 2.7 liter. And Porsche does a pretty good job with these things out of the factory. So we weren't expecting huge gains. We were hoping to maybe get to about, you know, an implied flywheel number of about 310. Couldn't quite get there. But, you know, overall, the car feels significantly better, especially in the mid-range. It's a lot more torque. It's punchier, much sharper throttle response. The car just is a little more aggressive feeling in a good way, like a controlled aggression, kind of the way you'd want it in a sports car. Now, as you start looking at kind of area under the curve, I mean, we picked up power everywhere. So, you know, essentially from 2,000 RPMs all the way to red line. Most notably, I mean, kind of that meat of the power band everywhere across. I mean, there's typically about a 20 to 30 wheel horsepower gain. And where we maxed out there is kind of right around the 87 mile an hour on the dyno rollers, which is about 6,500 RPMs on the Cayman, maybe 6,800 RPMs. And we picked up 34.4 wheel horsepower during that RPM. So that's going to feel, in the butt dyno, the quote-unquote butt dyno, that's going to feel quite significant. I mean, that's substantial gain, almost 15% gain over stock. So certainly it's much better feeling. We were really enjoying the vehicle as is. You'll have to kind of judge if this is worth it for you. Again, I sorry to keep going back to that. We just have a lot of people that are going to comment and say, oh, well, you know, this is, you know, kind of waste of money for everything you spent. You know, out of it, we have a much better feeling car, more powerful car, faster car, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And then also a nice sounding car. I mean, the exhaust is, you know, just amazing open with the valves. Closed, very livable, nice tone, sounds great. The IPD plenum sucks in so much more air, it just sounds more aggressive in the intake track. So really happy with it kind of overall where it's at. So let's go over some acceleration numbers, and here's just a table that just shows kind of historically a couple different times that we tested this 30 to 80 mile an hour roll from second gear. So we use second gear, full throttle, you hit the 30 miles an hour, it goes, and then stops at 80. We did this on the same stretch of road, fairly flat. I think it goes downhill maybe like 2 feet or something. But the flattest piece of road that we could find where we felt comfortable doing this, just right by our shop here. So stock 30 to 80 in 7.6 seconds. With the Cobb Stage 1 OTS map loaded, that knocked off about 0.6 of a second. So pretty good improvement there. We then installed the IPD plenum. And that's with the Stage 1 map loaded. It took off about another 1/10 of a second, took it down to 6.9 seconds. So not a significant improvement, but obviously the Cobb off-the-shelf map isn't optimized for the GT3 throttle body, so we weren't expecting to see major gains. Now, after that, we installed the headers, the exhaust, and then we did some custom tuning, as I mentioned. And if you look at the final number, we did 30 to 80 in 6.17. I mean, that's pretty fast. I mean, our Panamera, I think as a reference, our Panamera Turbo that's running about 530 at the wheels is at like 4.9. So it's pretty significant gain there. And I'm sorry, come to think about it, I think that Panamera is running 3.9 seconds, but obviously it's an extremely fast car. But we knocked 130 feet off the distance it took to get from 30 to 80, which is also significant. So about a second and a half quicker from 30 to 80. As that translates to 0 to 60, I don't quite know. We didn't want to use a 0 to 60 just because of the variables with the launch and all that. So I'd imagine, I mean, you might be looking at potentially about a little over a second off your 0 to 60 time. We're going to go out and play with that a little bit here in some time just to kind of see what we can do. But that's pretty good. I mean, that's probably the difference, close to the difference between a base and a Cayman S. Certainly, I'm not suggesting that buy a base and do this and you'll be as good as an S, but I think we're pretty darn close. And our goal was really to get to that 987.2 Cayman S, number as far as acceleration. And from a butt dyno perspective, it certainly feels pretty darn close. We want to get one in and just kind of test on the same stretch of road to compare that. But overall, very happy with it. You'll have to kind of read between the lines and see what makes sense for you. I apologize that we don't own a dyno, so I can't. I have to rent a dyno, and that involves time and money, and I can't just put it on the dyno every time after we install a part and get you a breakdown for every single scenario. I wish I could. The acceleration times, likewise, I think I have quite a few with some notes on there. We didn't do it at every stage of the game, so I apologize. That one probably would have been easier to execute, but we thought many people are going to do these in stages. I don't know what the effect of adding a catback exhaust versus stock is really going to do. But I hope that you can kind of see what the overall gains are. And again, this was on a 2.7 liter base Cayman, which our Cayman is. On the 3.4 liter, I suspect you'll find pretty similar type gains. Certainly those numbers will move around a little bit with a little larger displacement. Might be a little bit better of an opportunity to gain a few more ponies kind of overall, and as a percentage potentially a little bit more. But we suspect that'll probably be pretty similar. If there's anybody out there that wants to kind of volunteer their car, we'd love to do this with a 3.4 as well. But I think it should give all the folks out there with Cayman following along a good perspective of kind of where we came from and where we're at. So that's really going to round out the power adding. So I hope this was some valuable content for everybody out there on what it's like living with some of these modifications, and kind of the sound and the videos we've put together, but also kind of where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, with acceleration times and also the dyno plots. Should load you up with some data. We're going to move on to the suspension next, and we're going to put the JRZ RS2 touring coilovers on, and hopefully get into that this weekend. Really excited about that. Then we have some cosmetic stuff and some brakes and some more suspension. So we're looking forward to moving from a kind of street tuned vehicle where it is now to a little bit more of a track setup. Our goal is really kind of more of a HPDE type car for that customer that's probably going to hit the track maybe 3-4 times a year, maybe an autocross, something like that. That's kind of what we're gearing this build to be. But at the same time, we want to go fast, look good, so we'll be doing a few other things to the vehicle. If you haven't checked out our website, please do. It's flat6motorsports.com, and make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, because we have other Porsche vehicles. We have a Macan S project that we're starting off. Excited about that. We have our developed intake system on it now. Really looking forward to seeing the power we can get out of that with tuning. And then we have the Panamera Turbo that we're not doing as much to. Obviously, it's a very nice car, and we don't want to go to the same extreme that we are with the Cayman, but nice to follow along. We just put some Michelin Pilot Sport tires on that and be doing a review of those tires. So Stay tuned, subscribe for more content. We're hoping to put some more out here soon. We're also putting some product showcases out, just kind of a quick 1-2 minute format to show you what a product is. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. It's info@flat6motorsports.com. Till the next one, stay tuned.